And hello, I'm Cassandra Joan Butler. Thank you for listening and watching. We're going to have a special agenda today, and that is to create a space for you to do some healing during eclipse season. This has been an incredible year, 2020, and it only is going to end on an incredible note with a series of eclipses and also the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of December 21st. So in preparation for that big cycle, we have the solar eclipse of December 14th. In preparation of that, perhaps we can do some reflection, some meditation through the lens of astrological understanding, which I'd like to offer to you today. So we're going to bring in the PowerPoint and explain what the heavens are talking about for the end of 2020, year of transformation. You see, eclipses are like portals. They're places in time and space when the heavens open up in such a way that gives us illumination, that gives us a sense of change and new beginnings. Two types of eclipses: lunar, which are often emotional and stir up the pot, and solar, which opens the doorway to a new set of considerations, a new set of attitudes, and sometimes even the external world seems brand new. So our agenda today is just fourfold. We want to do a little bit of meditation, and we're going to identify what you are going to be releasing and healing just prior to the beginning of the new year and prior to the December 14th solar eclipse. Identify what you have been healing all year long. Year of transformation for sure, but it's also been a year of tremendous struggle and challenge and difficulty. And when these amazingly challenging times come up for each of us, we have to go into our deep reserve of spiritual and psychological resource to try to rise above the circumstances around us. We're also going to, in the next few minutes, prepare the soil for a new planting. And that new planting takes place after the actual solar eclipse on 12/14 at 11:17 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. So after that point, now you could do it on the 15th or the 16th, or whatever, to manifest a new attitude, a new sense of optimism. And I will explain why there is reason for optimism in the face of so much challenge. We're going to meditate during this little bit of a video, and you may receive some messages. So jot them down. It's a love letter to yourself. Why has 2020 been such a healing year? Now, for those of you who are new to astrology, please understand that every single one of the planets and the asteroids have archetypal meanings. So in 1977, an asteroid by the name of Chiron, where we get the word chiropractic from, by the way. Chiron, there's a whole myth and a wonderful story connect with Chiron, but for our purposes, just understand that Chiron is the centaur, half man and half beast, half horse. In ancient times, he represented the great teacher of medicine, of astrology, of wisdom. And everyone has Chiron within their charts. And Chiron takes an approximate orbit of 50 years. So that's why age 50 is such a pronouncedly important year of adult initiation into our spiritual purpose after we go through a lot of mega healing oftentimes around age 50. In 2020, actually beginning in 2018, Chiron went into the sign of Aries. This is depicted by Aries, the ram, all fiery and feisty and independent. Here's a depiction of Chiron, the centaur. So in 2020, Chiron has been floating through the solar system in the sign of Aries, and it's been making a lot of angles or tense squares to the other cardinal signs. Cardinal signs have something in common. Those cardinal signs are Libra, Aries, Cancer and Capricorn, they start the seasons of the year, and they're often self-starting energy. Now, you might not be an Aries, but you have Aries somewhere in your chart. You might not be a Cancer, but you have Cancer somewhere in your chart. So wherever you find these cardinal signs, you are a leader. And in 2020, we had a huge lineup of energy in the sign of Capricorn, which means structure, business, government, the elites, anyone who has power over us. That is a Capricorn archetype. And Aries represents me, myself, and I. So these two cardinal signs have been in collision all throughout 2020, especially peaking around the end of March. It was March 24th, 25th, coming to a head around July 5th, coming to a head around October 15th. And they're still doing a little dance in the sky. So wherever you find these cardinal signs within your own energy pattern of Capricorn and Aries, you've been at an internal war, so to speak, between what I want, me, Aries, and what the powers that be are trying to tell me what to do. Of course, that's reflected by COVID and the respective shutdowns and limitations in our lives. But it's even more than that. What it implies here, of course, is the narcissistic wound. How am I going to achieve a sense of relevance and power in my life compared to the powers that be? Now, on a personal level, the powers that be may be your boss or your husband or your wife or your kids or your cats or your dogs, your responsibilities in life. It's not necessarily the government. It can be, of course. But in the interim, on a worldwide level, all of us have been needing and desiring and being challenged to basically heal the narcissistic wound that's represented by Chiron and Aries. We've been alone. Even if you are lucky enough to be in the home with loving people, if you've been sheltering in place and not able to see your friends and family or go to work, there's been a sense of tremendous isolation, triggering fear, worry, anxiety, and grief, right? We've had quite the year. One of the silver linings of 2020 has been learning how to prioritize what really truly matters to you, the essential core of your nature, sans ego, sans a sense of impulsivity. So these are some thoughts I want to share with you as we say goodbye to 2020. Now, some of these issues may have triggered up enormously in your life around the 30th of November. The 30th was the second to last important eclipse that took place. Go back to that time. Go back to November 30th. That was the emotional lunar eclipse. Eastern Standard Time, it took place around 4:30 in the morning. And here is the eclipse. The moon disappeared at 8 degrees of Gemini, opposite the sun. And what was happening in this particular chart, this particular story that the lunar eclipse is offering to us, is what's real and what's true. Why? Because this particular emotional lunar eclipse was in the sign of Gemini and Sagittarius. Now, Gemini represents facts, data points, factoids, and Sagittarius represents truth. And it may have seemed in your life, your personal life, or the outer political, social landscape, that what you were seeing was not really true. You may have been suffering through some cognitive dissonance, as it were. What's real? All right, the crush of businesses. And I'm making a reference to in Western New York, a particular businessman by the name of Ravi. At that time, he was in conflict with the powers that be, the government, for opening up his business, which was and still is, a health-related business, a gym. And he actually created quite an international stir because he basically very firmly asked the powers that be, the police officers and the Department of Health, to leave the premises. And that was the story back then, and that made international news. The little guy, David versus Goliath, he wasn't going to abide by the restrictions or limitations. Archetypal story. How are we, me, Aries, going to push back against the infrastructure of Capricorn? Around this time also, there was a lot more movement and information about the vaccination remedy. And it was all the talking stage back then, factoids. But one of the things that's very important in astrology to understand is that this planet, Neptune, which represents things that are illusionary, it also represents drugs, of course, vaccinations. It also represents pandemics, COVID-19. It started moving forward in the sky, and it was creating this angle to the eclipse. So there was this need for truth and wisdom in the blurry of smoke and mirrors and what's really real. So there may have been some emotional upheavals in your own personal lives as well, way back when, on November 30th. The eclipse of that day, the 8 degrees Gemini, and I work very heavily with sabian symbols. If you're not sure what they are, I often, I'm very enthusiastic about them. In a nutshell, a sabian symbol is a word picture of each one of the 360 degrees on the mandala of the astrology wheel. It comes to us from the early 20th century, from the meditation of an astrologer and minister, Mark Emmon Jones, and Elsie Wheeler, a medium. And they meditated together, and they created this this wonderful array of 360 word pictures. So the word picture of this lunar eclipse was a quiver of arrows. And I'm making a reference here to the Sabian symbol. This is from James Burgess online. An interpretation, please go to his website, and please also go to Linda Hill's website on Sabian symbols. Wonderful words which reflect each of these degrees. The quiver of arrows. So way back when, in November 30th, we had to deal with not shooting, but preparing ourselves for whatever happens. A quiver is the actual container of the arrows. It's not shooting the arrows. So to quote here, the trick may be to just let go and let things flow. Whatever happens will turn out for the best if no expectations are broadcast, no feelings of isolation, being left out and neglected. Although these things may be true, it's by feeling connected in that the magic of this aspect can work. How do you get to the heart of the matter? Make adjustments. The symbol implies the ability of being able to take aim at something and achieving a bullseye straight at the target. You got to be sure of what you want, though. And go back to that time. What is it that you wanted and maybe perhaps continue to want? And you may have become illuminated. You may have become illuminated during those past few weeks of a new goal, a new achievement, making a strategy and hitting the mark around November 30th. And then that takes us up to the other big day, the other eclipse, which will be on December 14th, the solar eclipse at 11:17 in the morning. That's Eastern Standard Time. This particular eclipse, and I invite you, by the way, to join me on Facebook for a live meditation at that time. Join me around 11 in the morning, and we'll gather and do some meditating together. We're going to do some meditating right now as well if you can't make that time. This particular eclipse, the solar eclipse, which sets the tone for the next, essentially next at least 6 months, because solar eclipses are about setting a new agenda. And this particular solar eclipse is focusing on spirituality. Why? Because the planet Neptune, which represents God's heart and compassion, is directly opposite Vesta. So no matter what you're feeling about anything in your life, perhaps the mixed bag sadness of isolation, loneliness, grief, worry, anxiety, fear, dread, nostalgia for the holidays that were, not what's happening in front of us. Jump into the vortex and the comfort of your spirituality, your spiritual practices. Vesta represents how we practice our spirituality. Neptune represents the experience of the numinous, of God, of the God of your understanding. Neptune is the experience of something greater than yourself. Even if you're an agnostic or atheist, you may lose yourself in the power and the beauty of art or music. This is a very special spiritual day, my friends, the 14th of December, because of our Vesta being the handle of the bucket of this particular chart. You can see it's almost like this is the bucket and here's the handle. This represents a new start for all of us, but it's a new start by letting go of the old, because the eclipse is connecting with the South Node in astrology. The South Node is a karmic point. The South Node represents that which needs to be let go of. And this day is also the last gasp of Saturn and Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn, because we're all in preparation for the big day, which is December 21st. We also have it in conjunct of Black Moon Lilith, exactly in conjunct to the eclipse. This little place, it's not a planet, Black Moon Lilith, it's a place on our solar system, is at 23 degrees, exactly in conjunct. In conjunct in astrology is a very uncomfortable aspect. It basically means irreconcilable differences. There's not a lot in common between the freedom and the power of Sagittarius and the containment and control of Taurus. So Black Moon Lilith is the fringy little feisty energy that says, I do not play by the rules. And Sagittarius represents freedom, honesty, liberty. You've heard those words before, haven't you? Right? Because our nation, United States of America, is a Sagittarius rising. And the eclipse is right there on its skin or its rising sign. What does that mean? That only happens every 18 and a half years. What that means to Americans and people who observe the United States of America, which is the world, is that this amazing, incredible Sagittarius rising country is going through a lot of anguish and a lot of change and a lot of difficulty and a lot of challenge on so many different levels. So my suggestion to you, my friends, is when we meditate now, let us also place our prayers, our best wishes on this country, because the Sagittarius new moon operating on top of its rising sign is suggesting two things: a brand new start, but perhaps a realignment of the core values of the United States: liberty, freedom, honesty, and truth. These are now under the microscope. What's really true, what's not. Can't make this up. This is just astrology. So friends, please get comfortable. And I'm going to play some music so we can go into more of a deeply relaxed positioning. See my mountain up there? All right. This meditation can be used anytime, before or after the eclipse. It's just designed to help us identify what it is we want to start, what we want to manifest. So become very relaxed. Sit comfortably in your chair and take a nice deep breath. Nice deep breath, and inhale and hold and exhale completely. The second deep breath, identify what physical discomfort you may have that you need to release and let go of, and exhale completely. The third deep breath, inhale deeply, relax, release, and let go of any emotional, psychological, or spiritual anxiety. Invite the golden light of the heavens above to come down, 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 and enter the top of your head through your crown chakra. As I invite you now to simultaneously invite the silver white light of the crystalline center of Mother Earth to come up, 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 and penetrate your tailbone, the sacral bone of your spine. And so these two lights, silver and gold, are now infiltrating and filling up every cell of your body, nourishing and releasing and balancing. Every breath you take, every beat of your heart is distributing this light to every cell of your body as you relax, release, and let go. Inhale, exhale. Relax your feet and your ankles. Relax your knees and your hips and your lower back, your middle back. Inhale, exhale, and relax your upper back and your arms and fingers and neck and face, eyes, ears, nose. So your body is alert but relaxed. Friends, I invite you now to recollect just one difficult moment of 2020. One moment of pain or anxiety. Identify that moment, just one. And begin to imbue that moment now with the light that's now circulating within your body. Embrace that moment with light and turn that light now into love to neutralize any fear, any disappointment, any anxiety connected with that one moment that created for you great distress. And just pour that light on that moment. Inhale, exhale. Excellent. So now, my friends, let us now project ourselves, no matter when you are listening to this meditation, on the date of December 14th, 2020, approximately 11:20 in the morning. Place yourself in that moment. And I invite you now to really use the power of your imagination to imagine the sabian symbol of this eclipse, which is, in this moment, the bluebird of happiness on the doorway of the cottage. Using the power of your imagination, imagine a bluebird on the doorway, perched outside the doorway of the house of your dreams, a cottage. It could be a castle. It could be an actual home that you live in, or a home that you would like to live in. And just imagine the bird, its sound, the house, the home, the structure, using the power of your imagination. And as you inhale and exhale, imagine what a solar eclipse now looks like in your mind. The blazing, beautiful, bright sun being clouded by the shadow. So the shadow of the eclipse is occulting the sun itself. And just be in the shadows right now of not knowing. And breathe in and breathe out with expectation, with faith, with hope, with the expectation of good. And now in every cell of your body, identify a personal hope, a personal goal, a personal wish for happiness in your life. And trust whatever comes to mind. And trust whatever comes to mind as the sun now begins to reappear from the shadows of the eclipse. And it's as though you can look into the face of the sun in your imagination right now to receive a message, a guidance, a word, an image of assistance in this moment. See it, feel it, connect with that image now. Download this goal, this wish, this desire into your cellular body right now. And know that you have the courage, the strength, the vision to download and manifest your dream going forward. Inhale, exhale, begin to become fully awake now. Adjust your posture, open your eyes, and come back into the room. My fervent wish for each of you, and for myself and for everyone I know, is that this new moon solar eclipse gives us the bluebird of happiness somewhere in our lives, attached to the idea of hope for a better tomorrow and confidence in divine intercession, inspiration, and support. Wishing for you all a beautiful and blessed holiday season. And thank you for watching.